You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Park Ranger with Locked On Coogs here, talking about the top 5 Houston Cougars, according to the fans, of the last 25 years. And I think it really shows the growth of the athletic department in the last 25 years that all 5 of these guys have played in the last 15 seasons. It is all men, and I think that might be short-sighted on the fans. We'll get to the flaws part of that in a second, but that's the third segment. This is about celebration, and these are the top 5 Houston Cougars the last 25 years. And truthfully, I stack this list up against any school in America. Right here at number 5, Greg Ward comes in, quarterback. Started off slow, played quarterback and wideout as a freshman. As a sophomore, was just a wide receiver until midseason. And then the next 8 games, he threw for over 2,000 yards and had 12 touchdowns. Also added 576 touchdowns on the ground. But then 2015 breaks out. American Athletic Conference Championship season, Offensive Player of the Year in the Peach Bowl that season. That's the win over Florida State that we all talk about all the time still. He had 2,800 yards passing and 17 touchdowns, and an incredible 1,100 yards rushing with 21 rushing touchdowns. He's all-time everything in that. 2016, he threw for 3,500 yards, had another 500 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns as well. He obviously also a Super Bowl champion with the Philadelphia Eagles and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he had a great career afterwards when he transitioned back to wide receiver, but in a very classic traditional Houston Cougar way, came to Houston, proved to play quarterback, and won at the highest level doing it, and frankly put Houston on the map in the mid-2010s. Now, Tank Dell, I think Tank Dell should have been in the top 25. I don't mean to say that he shouldn't have been. I thought it was interesting that the fans put him 4th overall. This is probably one of those spots where I felt like some recency bias because he is a fan favorite. But we're going to get to that in a second. He had 2 different 1,300-yard receiving seasons. One had 12 touchdowns. One had 17 touchdowns. Those were his final 2 years at Houston. He was second-team All-American in a couple different publications. His 17 receiving touchdowns did lead the nation by kind of a nice gap, actually. And he was a fan favorite throughout the entire time. I think, though, it's interesting to see after he got drafted by the Houston Texans, and he's had an injury-plagued pro career, right? But Tank Dell has been a monumental piece of the culture since he left, actually, almost as much as when he was there. And I think that, him coming back, bringing C.J. Stroud, bringing other Houston Texan folks to the University of Houston has kind of helped elevate the program in a way that is why he makes the top 5 here, even if his production is maybe somewhere else on this list. I think he's important enough to the culture of the school because of those factors. Really, really interesting to see him here. But Nathaniel Tank Dell is an important part of Houston Cougar football culture, an important part of this list, obviously. And he could ball as well. Speaking of could ball, Ed Oliver, number 3 in the Houston Cougar last 25 years, 3-year starter, immediate All-American level impact as a defensive lineman, the highest ranked recruit to ever come to the University of Houston. Keyshawn Henderson's pushing him in that category, but has not passed him yet in that category. After 3 seasons as a starter at the University of Houston, Ed Oliver would be the 9th overall pick in the NFL draft. Just an incredible dominant player on the defensive line for the Houston Cougars. And really, it was a 5-star kid that at the time in the program was saying, hey, I want to stay home and play for Houston. And we talk about doing that now. That's kind of the model now with building the program. You can't talk about that without talking about Ed. And Ed's incredible. And he's still got a great career going with the NFL, the Buffalo Bills. I saw pictures of him. I haven't watched Hard Knocks yet, but it sounds like he had a pretty cool game with this kid on Hard Knocks. Really, as far as Houston Cougar stuff goes, his 13.5 sacks, 192 tackles in his 3 years don't really seem to do him justice. Like that stat line, as incredible as it is over a 3-year college career, does not do justice to what the impact was of having Ed Oliver on your football team. Now he did wear a jacket, and that led to a whole thing, but that's not for today's show. Jamal Shead comes in at number 2. Jamal Shead was the heart and soul of the last few years of the Houston Cougar basketball program. Clearly, in his final season at Houston, he helped put them at a national level that could not be ignored and has not fallen back from, frankly. He was the Naismith and NABC, National Association of Basketball Coaches, Defensive Player of the Year, both. He was the All-American, first-team All-American consensus his final season at Houston. He was a Big 12 Player of the Year. He had buzzer beaters. He had tip dunks. He had game-winning blocks, big-time defensive plays, clutch plays, big-time plays. Just a focal point of all things Houston in that final year, which was also Houston's first year in the Big 12. When Houston decided to make a name for themselves, listen, we are here to dominate the Big 12 conference in basketball. Jamal Shead was the face of that. That's not to say he wasn't also a Defensive Player of the Year in the American. He's actually the second player in Houston Cougar history to win Defensive Player of the Year in 2 different conferences, or in 2 different years for a conference. He's the only one to do it in 2 different conferences, I should say. Now, JoJo Tugler could potentially do that as well before it's all said and done, but right now it's just he and Bo Outlaw. So credit to Jamal Shead there. He's one of only 2 players in Houston Cougar men's basketball history to have multiple 200 assist seasons. He and Reed Geddes actually both had 3 200 assist seasons, and so credit to Reed Geddes obviously too, but Jamal Shead, man, I just cannot say enough. It's wild when no one in America could stop him from getting downhill. And I'd argue that's like the 3rd best thing he did. Now, for my money, he was the best player in America in 2024. And had he not hurt his ankle in the Sweet 16 game, Houston is cutting down nets. But that's a hypothetical conversation for a later day. Jamal Shead, tremendous Houston Cougar, number 2 on our list. Because number 1's the GOAT. Case Keenum, true FBS record holder for career passing yards at 19,217 and completions at 1,554. Fun fact, our trivia question from last episode was, what is the school record for total offense? People kind of forget that Case Keenum could also run a little bit early in his career. He had nearly 900 rushing yards, which put him at 20,114 total career yards of offense. He also had 9 rushing touchdowns as a freshman. Again, he can move a little bit, guys. He can move a little bit. Dylan Gabriel did tie his career passing touchdowns record. Needed an extra year to do it because of COVID. But Case Keenum is tied for the NCAA record in that as well. He's the 2-time Sam Ball winner, which is the top collegiate passer. He had a team 12-0 going to the Conference USA title game. He had 35 or more completions in 13 different college football games. He completed 70% or more of his passes 26 times, 4 or more touchdown passes in 17 different games, 534 yards and 9 touchdowns against Rice. But he had 6 total games, 5 other games with over 500 yards passing. He broke 400 yards passing 19 times. He had an efficiency rating of over 110, which means that you're over 65% completions and a bunch of different stats that you have a really good game as a quarterback. He was over 110 when a good game is 100 in all but 2 games of his collegiate career. Now, people would say, Parker, this is Case Keenum against Group of 5 guys, Conference USA, etc. He was 4-4 as a starter against Power 5 teams. They put up offensive showcases in most of those as well, even the losses. Some of those losses were just because they got outscored or didn't have the ball last, right? He was 41-16 overall. Case Keenum was just a flat winner. He's a record-holding winner in all categories. He was 8th in Heisman voting in 2009 and 7th in Heisman voting in 2011. And I think it bears questioning, what, obviously number 7's retired. I would say that all 5 of the guys we've mentioned, you talk about retiring the jersey. I don't know if you retired Tank or not, or Greg Ward or not. I think Greg Ward and Tank were in the same number, might make that fun. I think Jamal Shead's jersey belongs in the rafters. I think at Oliver, you can make an argument for 3 for 3 being an All-American, right? But it's like, do we build Case Keenum statues? Do we put bronzes up for him? What do we do to truly honor Case Keenum coming through Houston? I knew when I put this out there that Case Keenum was going to run away with the number one. I just kind of figured like anyone with a heartbeat and a pulse or brain could have figured that out. But this was the top five in terms of a bar chart of receiving votes. Case Keenum ran away with this thing, and I would point out that that's the top five. Like, look at the gap between Case and Jamal, even Jamal and Ed Oliver, as you go down the bar chart of who got voted in what spot. Speaking of who got voted in what spot, there were some flaws in this. This is not a perfect poll or anything, but it was a fun thought experiment to work through with you all. So thank you. I want to talk through what else came out of the poll in a second. But first,